Welcome, I'm Kinetic Symphony. I hunt down and report on mysterious and weird, true stories, from glitches to the paranormal. Case file number 39, written by user srslyskwrrly. A case of a long walk turning into an entirely different setting, from bleak, gloomy and cold, to sunny, bright and warm a few steps later. As a teenager, I lived in a dead-end neighborhood, a mile into an expansive state forest in a rural Connecticut town with a lot of history and supposedly haunted graveyard. This town had a heavy sort of energy, and I had plenty of spooky little glitch experiences while living there. For instance, seeing movements in my peripheral vision. But the one big glitch which I remember so vividly all this time later happened on a cloudy, gray November afternoon when I decided to go on one of my many wooded adventures. Usually, I would do these excursions with neighborhood friends, but this day, I was alone. I started out from my backyard and went straight into the woods to explore a section I was less familiar with. As I wandered deeper, the day became paler and gloomier. The trees were bare or had a few crispy brown leaves barely clinging to their branches, and the air was cool, a typical New England November day in the woods. It was nearing dusk, but I pressed on, wanting to see how far I could get. Suddenly, I found myself stepping out of the gray, wintry woods into an old rutted dirt road with worn wheel tracks and humps of green grass. It was no longer cold and gray, it was sunny, the sky was clear and blue, and the trees were full of green leaves all along the trail. There was a gentle warm breeze, it smelled like summer. I stopped, startled at the abrupt change, feeling as if I had just entered another world. It was so pleasant and inviting, I wasn't scared. It was so beautiful and peaceful. I felt this overwhelming urge to walk down the path and see where it would take me. But noting the time, and knowing it was cold and dusky mere seconds before I stepped into this inexplicable sunshine, I decided I didn't have the time to explore this lush, tempting road, especially since doing so would change my direction, and I was concerned about getting disoriented and not being able to find my way home in what should have been the rapidly darkening evening. Instead, I decided to come back the next day with a friend. I turned around and stepped back off the trail into the chilly November gloom and headed home via the same straight line I had plotted. I couldn't stop thinking about that place. It was so surreal and peaceful. It had no business being that green and sunny. The next day, I recruited a friend, determined to show her, but we couldn't find the trail. I never found it again, even though I remembered exactly how I got there, and tried to find it several times after. Sometimes I think back on that day, all those years ago, and wonder why it was there and what would have happened if I had decided to walk down that path. Has anyone else had something like this happen to them? Case notes, file number 39. This reminds me of an older glitch I had read before, an account by someone describing their grandparents that were out for a walk, and they entered their town like normal, but it was a different town than they remembered. The pathing was different, the roads, the buildings, everything was a little weird, not like they had remembered. Eventually though, they get back home, but they never could return to that same place even after walking down every road in the city. Seems like there are temporary portals or wormholes that connect us to different alternate realities. But we have no perception of them. We can't even feel the transition. It just kinda happens randomly. Did you experience any time distortions after returning home? The author responded to my comment, saying, "Hi, I didn't experience any time distortion that I'm aware of. Perhaps you're right though, about portals, wormholes, or the like, that we can't even feel them." They also remembered the story I was describing, and they included a link to it. Case file number 40, written by user Okoi. Her dad takes her pet dog for a walk. She hears him come back, pets her dog, then realizes neither her dad or her dog actually returned yet. A little while ago, I'd say a year ago, I was standing in the hallway in my house where there are two doors on the right-hand side going down and a door at the end. The first door was the pantry and the second door was the bathroom. I was standing by the pantry door. I think I was debating what food I wanted or something, and my dad had taken my dog, Mason, for a walk. The door at the end of the hall opens into a mudroom, which then has a side door where we usually go in. Well, I heard the sounds of the side door open, and I heard my dog's collar jingling. Then the door at the end of the hallway opened up, presumably by my dad, and I saw my dog Mason run down the hallway. I put out my hand to pet him as he runs by. He continues, and I see him run in the direction of the stairs, and I assume he ran upstairs to my mom. For some reason, I felt like something was off because he just ran forward like a simulation and didn't stop and say hello to me. So I called to my mom and asked if Mason was up there with her, and she said no, and that my dad hadn't arrived home yet with Mason. My heart stopped and I realized that something was wrong. I waited, and later my dad came in and let Mason in too. So my dad hadn't come home yet, letting my dog in, even though I had seen, heard, and petted Mason. 3 of my senses had been off, and I can't to this day understand how. At this point, I just accepted the fact that we're probably in a computer simulation, or we're being experimented on. I've never hallucinated anything like that before, and I haven't since, but I can't get over it, and I won't let myself be convinced that it was nothing, because it was something. Case Notes, File Number 40. This brings us to the spawn of the glitch in the Matrix labeling itself. Neo in the Matrix seeing the black cat walk by twice. Only in your case, the déjà vu happened over minutes, not seconds. Truly inexplicable, at least by conventional means. Your senses simply lied to you, or the simulation repeated its scripted scenario. I wonder, are we just players? Part of a play, like the Truman Show? Or is it a simulation that's scripted? Things happen to us, we are players in control, but like in a video game, we have limited control, things we can't quite do, and there are areas or events that are just supposed to happen. Well, I don't know, I'm just a guy speculating, but it is interesting, isn't it? If you enjoyed the video, give it a like, and also subscribe on up. I'm always uploading more stories. See you there.